Incremental greetings. So that is the very start of the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo. This is the first video. Anyone will start here. Is the start also of the first cycle, the Fluency cycle. So let me present the contents of this video. What we're going to see and what you will know by the end of this video. We will see first more or less two sections. The introduction of the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo, everything itself, and then the first cycle, the Fluency cycle. So what we have? The introduction, why it is course, why now, why is free, the design, how it's distributed into cycles, the formats of the videos, then who is behind the course, it's me, and the versions covered in SuperMemo, and just an introduction, a sneak peek of how long it takes to learn incremental reading, so you can assess more or less, hey, is this course long or not? Believe me, it's straight to the point as maximum as I could. And then the contents of the Fluency cycle, what we will see, not just in this very same video, but the 28 videos of this cycle. The learning results, so when you are a fluent SuperMemo user, what does that mean? What you are able to do by the end of the first course, and then what we didn't cover, and the simplifications that we have made. For instance, we will only work with one collection, because this adds a lot of complexity, some features that if you work with different collections is quite a lot harder, and most people are not going to use multiple collections. Just to mention an example. So that is what we're going to see in the first section. Let's start. I'm Guillem Palau. I will present myself later on in this course. All of the videos you see with this t-shirt in YouTube means it's part of the video. Why? Because those are those super long videos that I edit later, but I shoot the course with the topic videos. You will see hundreds, even more than 1,000 already in playlists or in my channel here and there until I group them together. You will understand why I do it like this, but it's to maximize the quality. But let me answer those questions as an introduction to more or less answer the title. Why is it called Pleasurable? Because that is the optimal. So when I say, hey, you pursue the maximum productivity possible. The maximum will be tedious, will be boring, will be friction. You will experience friction. And it's just a matter of time that you will give up at some degree or completely. What is easier, almost free to maintain, is when it's pleasurable for you. It's, bro, I don't want to stop. It's not that I have to motivate myself to continue. The opposite. You'll have to stop me, right? Albeit not optimal. When it's pleasurable, and you understand why, and especially at the second cycle of the course, when we cover this, it's suboptimal, but long term is the easiest to maintain, and long story short, it becomes the optimal. The best one. Not the optimal, but the best one you can do long term. Then, what's SuperMemo? This guide is about incremental reading through SuperMemo. And then, also cover everything else in SuperMemo that goes beyond incremental reading. Then, SuperMemo is just the tool, the software. Incremental reading it's the methodology and the paradigm. Then, in case you have reached this because you were linked or you came across through a recommendation in YouTube or whatever, very quickly, SuperMemo is the software you're already seeing now. I know it doesn't look appetizing. And it's very old as me, 38 at the time of the recording, and implements incremental reading. If you might hear this, that's the method, very shortly, we'll cover everything, no worries, is to learn, read, listen, or watched, is not limiting to text, everything, and you choose what to remember, basically. It includes spaced repetition. It's the evolution of a spaced repetition by the same author, by the way, Piotr Wojniak, and the author of the software that implements incremental reading. And is it possible to do? Yes, I consider that anyone can do it. What's different is that everyone has personalities, preferences, and hey, I don't like Windows, it's Windows only. Yeah, you can do a virtual machine and so on. I don't like this, I don't like that. But everyone healthy, that you don't have anything, any disease in the brain and so on, can do it. So this course is for anyone who wants to delve, wants to dig into SuperMemo, regardless of the level. That you only want the basics. You are in the right path already. You start here. That you want the mastery, using mastery, you are in the right place. It's just you will need more videos, but in the same sequence. That you want to more or less achieve the same degree I have, the domain, knowledge domain in SuperMemo. Again, you are in the right path, in the same place. It's just you will watch the entire thing, every single video. So this is the SuperMemo guide. I know it's course, but I try to always call it guide because of the connotation of the course, of formal education and so on. Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo. So, a warm welcome, and I hope this is the start of a very long endeavor for you. So now let's continue. Nothing more to add for now in the introduction, and let's start digging into the course. So let's cover now. Why this course? Why doing the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo? There's a course already in YouTube, right? So I will be addressing the gaps and offering more or less a thorough approach with the course, not with the presentation. This is just answering the why. First, the context. There are existing videos about SuperMemo from the creator himself, Piotr Woźniak, and now there are about 60, but that's not enough. So here is myself, SuperMemo video, the official one, and a wiki, the one run by the community who had the full guide to SuperMemo for a few years. It's been inactive for very long. So you have about 60 videos from himself, which I do react to them because he suffers from curse of knowledge. He takes a lot of stuff for granted and so on. Are good videos when you're a fluent user already. Then you have the SuperMemo wiki. 60, more or less, the same amount of videos. What's good is that you will get something not on the official documentation, like the Git backup solution, stuff like this. And it was run by a few people, not by me. I had my own channel since the beginning. And you had a course which has its own limitations. That's why, in short, it doesn't do justice. You need more than this for as a course. So maybe some are outdated. They were using SuperMemo 18, now there's the 19 and soon the 20. The scope is incomplete, or they assume some knowledge. You don't have this linearity as in this guide. So as often users say, I try to watch official videos, but left with more questions than answers. Because he's doing some other stuff that, oh, what is this? What is that? How he did this? How he did that? And you have more questions than before. Additionally, there are missing pieces in current resources. You may think that the documentation that is absolutely huge, there are holes. Something that is just mentioned, hey, this in the menu, it's A, B, and C, the labels. But what do? I don't know. When this is useful? In which context I may trigger this feature? I don't know. And some of them holes that is not even mentioned because it's something that was considered abandoned for many years and is a leftover here and there. As some examples. So you have a scattered tutorials. Everything is very incremental. You don't have anything that is sequenced in a sequence. So you can get introduced without, a good analogy is a dictionary. Imagine you get, what is serendipity? I search in the dictionary and the definition uses other words that I don't know and I have to look up in the dictionary. And I have to do this over and over. So imagine this in SuperMemo, right? That's why the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo will overrule all of this and have all this linearity that no, I keep track of everything has been said, everything that has been omitted on purpose, so will be presented later. So I'm not going to show anything before I introduce that to you formally in the course. There are also gaps. Some advanced topics like backlog management, priority strategies, and so on, there's not much depth. And priorities is a big deal. And you have to do this on your own. There's no guide, and especially in every single level until mastery. That's why the Pleasurable guide will also cover. Then usability and interface. Some demos gloss over real-life challenges. They take everything for granted, right? Daily scheduling frustrations, item editing, and so on. Usually Piotr Wozniak pretends to have a flow, but it's not his genuine flow with the app. So even if you watch all of his videos in YouTube, you don't know how he uses his own tool at all. So even though official video exists, and unofficial from the community in the past, they can feel fragmented, or even my own, by the way, in the year 2000, 2003. Now, most of them are already unlisted. You are not going to see them on my YouTube unless you go to the playlist. And that's because now I have repeated the content through the course. So as I keep doing the course in the mastery cycle, Pleasurist cycle, I'm unlisting more videos. That I discovered this, boom, I do a video because I wanted to share that. But there's no structure, I take the expert for granted, stuff like this. Let's continue. Our days keep practical nitty-gritty learners, what you need basically. That it's not that I want this flow already. It's no. It's just I don't get the basics yet. Don't explain this in YouTube. Well, you can do for the advanced users, but first cover the newbies, right? Sometimes I did the same video twice. The second version was not taking anything for granted and explaining everything within the video. So basically, Wozniak videos are not enough. The passion is clear, but the perspective is too specialized. He has used his own tool in his way for many years, decades, and it's very hard for him to see other perspectives that he doesn't use at all. It's more theory than less how-to. There's this feature, in 10 minutes. It's okay, but it's out of context. Show me one example, real example, or different use cases, right? That's one example in the Fluency cycle. Most will be just announced, hey, you can do this, you can do that. And in the mastery, we were going to do it. Not just those, but even more complex, or deep sync returns flows. But they're going to be done, not just announced. So it's this difference. And lack of a structured curriculum, like my channel until 2023. That, now it's concepts, now it's templates, now what is our priorities. There's no continuity at all. So quote, we respect the official vantage, but the everyday user craves more direct, user-friendly instructions. So basically, a course. Not a recollection, a playlist of videos. That each one is individual. But no, they are meant to be seen in sequence. That's the difference. On the same manner, the limitations of the full course. Here I'm going to insert a recording. Then I'm not going to explain this now because I did in detail in a different video. Check that video out if you want. But basically, it was rather low quality. It was not planned ahead of time to do it. So all of these that we mentioned, the sequentiality and all of this, is quite of missing. It leaves quite a lot to be desired, to be honest. If we are strict. It's better than nothing. Back in the day, it was the only thing available. Well, on my early videos. But now, with my course, that course is not required at all. So therefore, overall, there's a need for a comprehensive guide. Even if you only want fluency, that, hey, I don't want everything there is to know about SuperMemo. I just want to get things done. The first cycle. Here you go. You will have a holistic coverage. From the very beginning, how to install, download SuperMemo, the basics of a spaced repetition, until advanced incremental reading, and then use cases like the backlog, priority management, and some other stuff that is hard to grasp, let's say. It's easy to say, but it's hard to ingrain it, to actually get it. Then, practical workflows, focus. Real situations, and I know this because I've experienced this myself as a user, or have seen other people through tutoring experiencing that. If they are doing domains that I don't, it's not my expertise, like STEM, that I don't use math in SuperMemo, but I know how to do it, and I help people how to do it. And if I was to do it myself, I will do it this way, and so on. So I have seen people with very organized trees, with very disorganized that didn't care. So many different scenarios. So all of this will be also in the course. All colors, all flavors. And modern approach. The limitation of the full guide is that he only uses SuperMemo 18. I will covering all versions. It's recorded with the 19 and some videos with the 18, especially after the Fluency cycle, that you want to use FMA, the add-on, SuperMemo 18, and some other stuff. That you want to use the free version, the freeware version. You don't want to even pay for SuperMemo. It will be the 16 or 17, depending on the time you start. And I will be covered the 20. That it will be available in a few months. So all of the versions from the last 15 years. It's all you need. So a single course that covers every single case, every single user from multiple sources of bits of instructions. So you won't need to check anything else. It will be covered. Perhaps not in the first, but in the second cycle. But eventually it will be covered. It is a comprehensive guide. Then why is course rational? A structured learning path, step-by-step progression. So let's say that you have here concepts and you have here the templates. So first we will cover the templates and then the concepts, but not everything. Just the first layer, because it's not that easy to split apart, because everything becomes intermingled, and you cannot learn everything about templates before concepts. But most of what's useful. And then with concepts, I can know to apply templates and so on, is one example. And then concepts, with concepts, I can set a default priority. Okay, so then let me go to priorities. But that doesn't mean we're done. Then in the next cycle, we will see more details, because we will have covered subset review, rescheduling features, and so on. So then, what happens with priorities when I reschedule? Stuff like this. That's why cycles, it's the best option for the course. And it will be hand-on demo, especially at the second cycle, that we go more in detail. We already know the basics, so we go more in the flow and the tacit knowledge. And practical emphasis. Even though there are some videos that are purely theoretical, like this video that I'm just doing using SuperMemo because I want to, it's just a choice, because I'm just doing in a slideshow, there will be videos like that. In the Fluency, not that many, but on the Mastery, there will be, I don't know, I have recorded more than 30 hours already, like this. But keep in mind the course will be even bigger. So what is only theoretical is just a tiny bit. So quote, we're building the course. I always use this is from my native language, that you use the plural person out of modesty. But it's the singular plural, if that makes sense. We're building the course we wished existed when we first struggled with SuperMemo complexity. So I spent, let's say, 5 years struggling with SuperMemo, going to the rabbit hole many, many times, so you don't have to. So that will be the best resource available. Imagine, I have put a lot of time and love to become that. So anyone else can do it a lot easier. Then, who it serves? Everyone. Beginners, intermediate users, and advanced enthusiasts. More or less one for each cycle. Or you're new to SuperMemo, and could we say to the paradigm, not incremental reading, but even spaced repetition. You haven't used any other app like Anki. No worries, I won't take that for granted. I will mention some points, some analogies with Anki in case you're an Anki user, but it's not required. So the didactic approach is having you only know English language, and that's about it. Then, the intermediate users, hey, I want to refine my daily usage, specifically incremental reading. All of the other flavors will become later in the mastery. And then the mastery. No, is that I want to really master the priority management and specialized customizations and all there is in the mastery. So we can assume all users aim to be power users. That's a reality. That's why I am expecting that most people are only going to do the first cycle. And for them, it's enough. And that's why I spend so much time tracking, hey, no, let me do this detail on the mastery. Even though for me it will be easier to explain all of this in one chunk. No, let me do it by waves, because a Fluency user is not going to use this at all, or very unlikely. So the course adapts to different usage goals. What happens, the exception is the last one, is whatever is left, the completionist. That means that usually you're not going to check all of the course because you are not going to do every single flow. For instance, language learning. If you don't do language learning in SuperMemo, there will be a few sections, a few videos that they are not going to be useful. But I'm going to cover all of the possible flows there are in SuperMemo, which is a ton. So what's the outcome? Confidence and clarity. So you will grasp all of the names of every single window, the jargon that there is officially, in some that I do not agree with, and then my own. So on top of that, I add my own self-coined terminology. I always mention that. So you will know, you will be aware if a terminology is official or it's my own. And then you have the clarity that if I don't say this in this video now, it will be done later. Sometimes I mention this, or it will be mentioned in the next cycle. If I don't do it, no worries, it will be covered anyways. So you will reduce the feature anxiety that I have this holy knowledge temporarily. It will be covered. You'll have a better long-term retention. It's more memorable if you see a use case, an entire flow, than just reading a sentence in the documentation. And then I hope the outcome will be a community growth. That means that if there's a well-guided user base, fosters knowledge sharing. Hey, I have this question, boom, here's the video for you. I have this other question, boom, it has already been like this for years. I have compiled every single question there are in the communities and in my own tutoring or mentoring programs. So I will answer everything I have been asked in the last 5 years, or myself. I have asked this to myself. Hey, I wonder how this could be, even if no one else had the same thought. So imagine, it's very comprehensive. That means that, hey, less time will be covered repeating over and over the same stuff. It's just like the guide, and you can spend more time discussing other stuff, not just the basics. So the takeaway is that when more folks truly get, understand, integrate SuperMemo, the toolkit, not just the paradigm, the entire SuperMemo community evolves with deeper, more informed discourse. So it's, hey, look at what I do to tackle synonyms in language learning, or with contradicting information in incremental reading, what do we do? something that is more complex, more sophisticated, because the basics are already covered, if you know what I mean. So conclusion, why this course? To become, because official existing resources leave gaps, as mentioned, and this will be structured, user-centric, fill gaps because it's thorough, and this will become, by the way, official. Not that the copyright is from SuperMemo, but when you check the documentation soon enough, I will add those videos. So you will have either the course, hey, those are templates, boom. I start with templates here. Or the atomic videos that are now not public, you need the playlist, which is the same course, but scattered in 800, for instance, the Fluency cycle, there are 800 videos. It's more or less the same content, but with atomic videos. Meaning that, hey, I just want to mention this. Boom, you have the atomic video of 3 minutes that tackles the point you want, not 2-hour-long videos. So a win-win scenario. So the final thought, willing to be your all-in-one roadmap, bridging the best and official knowledge with practical step-by-step guidance that's been missing. I don't like the expression, but it's the best I can think of, because it has religion connotations. It's like the SuperMemo Bible, in the sense that it's a reference from the beginning. If you start tabula rasa, boom, here you go. You have everything. Well, eventually, when I finish all cycles, you will have all of the content, all of the questions ever asked in SuperMemo answered for you in a cohesive way, and all of this. This has a lot of work. I have invested more than 1,000 hours at the time of the recording, because I have repeated this video several times, because I have been incrementally improving the scope and design of the course, so the video become outdated. That's why I appreciate, and I do this for free. I appreciate this, like the Bible, that you don't pay for it. And the same with the charge, right? I don't charge you upfront, but it will be nice if you donate. In the sense that it's free, and whoever can donate, can afford, they do it. And especially if you got value. But everyone on earth will get the value. And not only some will pay. This will let me to continue doing this. Because I live in a capitalist society. I need to pay bills at the end of the month. Now it's time to tackle specifically this. Why now? Why releasing the SuperMemo guide just now, in the year 2025 onwards? Because I have been working on that since 2024, by the way. There are some details that I already mentioned, but I want to focus now on this. To tackle about the timing. First, long gestation. I have done a lot of hours in SuperMemo as a user, as an archaeologist, trying to get the fossils and the old stuff, arcane stuff, ins and outs that is not even there. I cannot even check online because it's not written in the official documentation or anywhere. And with tutoring, I have been tutoring for 4 years for SuperMemo and 12 years for Space Repetition and Anki. So it's been a long while. So I know the ins and outs, the pinpoints of a specific personas, let's say, of the demographics. So I know real life situations. I have taught something, then I see the outcomes. Some people after some years continue. Then some people move on to something else because of the friction. And some people, they stop completely. So I saw not just what they did, but the outcomes, the long-term outcomes sometimes. So it's a lot of data, a lot of gestation that is breeding through the years. So only after extensive hands-on work with individuals did we see exactly what newbies really need. And that's exactly, it's like a paradox. That the more basic the content, the harder it is for me to do it. Because for me, everything is crystal clear. So when I cover this, I do rely on the experience with tutoring. That some people struggle with this and with that is, oh man, it's very easy how you have a hard time with this, right? This will happen. It's called the course of knowledge. I was there. I struggled myself. Now it looks like second nature. It sounds blatantly obvious, but before I couldn't, because it requires a paradigm shift. That's why. So then, I also have a lot of expertise with filming and editing. So yes, you can see that I don't do much, which is true. For YouTube standards, I don't do a lot of editing, or the brain rot editing, to catch your attention and then to maintain your attention. No, it's all doing the course. And second, because I'm alone, so I will do the basic stuff. At the beginning, I will zoom in, zoom out, because I take for granted that you're not familiar with the user interface. But eventually, I will do this less and less often. Because if I say the main menu, or the contents window, or by any name, you know what it is already. So I don't have to spoon feed your attention to that place. Unless it's very tiny, and I just do zoom purely by resolution, not by attention. So basically, I use DaVinci Resolve to edit the videos. So I'm already used to the software, where I need to click or how it's called, the key bindings, to cut stuff and so on, to censor some parts, to whatever I need to do, I already know. So I can edit faster and with more quality. Before I cut too much, and then there's a sentence, there's a word that the first sound is missing or stuff like that happened before. Now I'm more accurate and all of this. Or if some volume I am too far away like this in the microphone, I can adjust post-editing like this, that before I didn't. And some other, but you get the main point already. So now the quality is bigger, it's better than before. Well crafted, smoothly presented tutorials instead of rushed amateur clips. Nice. Then accumulated insights, patterns in questions. Also in tutoring, when I see that, hey, I have this question, I think I know where you're going. Because this is recurrent questions or recurrent difficulties in SuperMemo. So then people ask, they cannot do it themselves, and then is when they pay for get expert help that, bro, I cannot do it on my own. I need help. This is recurring. And I will also use this knowledge. So at some degree, I will put on I already did, by the way, in the Fluency cycle, some expertise knowledge that was not on my videos, and it's something that people paid for that knowledge, or for those insights and so on. Even though it's not the same, because in tutoring, I adjust to your own case and needs and requirements, and not more generic in the course. Hey, if you do language learning, boom. If you do STEM, this. But it's more global, if you know what I mean. And refine explanations. So I'm not just telling you what to do and how to do, but why. It's like the analogy with fishing. I'm not giving you fish to eat, and you won't be hungry anymore today, but you will be tomorrow. No, I'm teaching you how to fish, so you can fish every single day and feed yourself and your family. Not just that. Is that I will provide you the tools that you can teach someone else to fish. It won't just be you. If this makes sense. So you will have all of the metacognitive skills to become a tutor, if you really want it. If you go to the entire course, there is Beyond Mastery. Then, tapping the right moment. Growing interest, now it's because AI and some other tools like RemNote that now people actually that moved on from SuperMemo built their own tools or add-ons and so on. Now it's easier than ever, and especially AI, that now, hey, even if it's just myself with code binding, I can, with code binding, with help of AI, I can do what I couldn't before, or with a lot less effort and time. And there are now some alternatives in SuperMemo that do incremental loading. Not at the same degree, but this is a start that, hey, now you can consider something else that is not SuperMemo. Amateur tools. So this course is about using incremental reading, but with SuperMemo. And SuperMemo has been stable, well, within the bugginess, but hasn't changed much in the last years. In the 5 years I have been using it, oh yeah, this has been added, this has been added, this has changed, this has been added. That's it. That's not much. Everything else is the same. So we're at a point that the world is more ready and the software is more polished, meaning if I do videos, it's going to be evergreen. Of course I will need to do some videos when the next version is released, but yeah, there will be a new stat in the stats window, a new algorithm, a few details about incremental video or this and that, and that's about it. I covered everything. Perhaps it will look slightly different, but the menus and so on will be the same. So you're not going to be lost because you use the next version. So now I know it's evergreen. Then ensuring quality and thoroughness. Because I want it to be as the maximum quality possible, it's no rushing. I decided at the second year I do a course. But even that, I waited until, okay, now I have done videos. Literally. Here you go. So I recorded my usage as a noob. The raw. If you go to my channel and playlists, here you go. Raw footage of my initial familiarization. You have 16 videos, about 30 hours. Absolutely unedited, what I experienced. Then here you have my fluent self reacting to my newbie self and spotting the mistakes. Learn from my own mistakes. Later, I did in one single video as when I consider myself a master, so the master cycle, reacting to my fluent self. And now I prepared this video for the last iteration. My completionist self will react to this video, master and fluent and noob. So I waited until I have been a completionist to do the course. That's not exactly true. I started when I was still a master with the full react. That's why I did 200 videos, and after 80 hours of footage, edited footage, by the way, not the raw, which is more than the fluency cycle, by the way, which is about 50, I started from scratch. Because now I have all this experience about editing videos, splitting the videos, the content here and there, the progression, the didactic approach, and all of this. Now that I have invested a ton of time only on this, not on SuperMemo content, I already knew that, is how I communicate this knowledge. This is a different skill set. One dimension is to know it and apply it. Another dimension is to communicate this knowledge. It's a completely different skill set. I have done this for a year and something, and then let me start over from scratch and do my own course. Comprehensive and thoroughness. Ensuring quality. Not the quality of the video, but the quality of the approach. So what has been taught? There could be better quality in the editing, or the 4K resolution, or whatever of you don't like me or my voice. It is what it is. I cannot change myself, right? But at least the content is as maximum quality as possible. It is very far from just repeating the documentation. The value I add is massive. How many people are like me that had read all of documentation? Therefore, I can tell you the holes there are because I have read everything. So everything I know through my experience from someone else or from Wozniak himself, or on my own, just serendipity, trying something, is invaluable. Invaluable. And how many people achieve this, not mastery, this completionist level? I don't know. Should I say very few people? Less than 10, perhaps, my best guess. Then who are motivated to do it, and I spend thousands of hours communicating this. The payoff. Better experience. As a learner, you get a streamlined, cohesive tutorial with minimum confusion. Not like before my channel. Oh, I have one recommendation about this, about that, but it's all over the place, right? No. Now it's everything. It's like a movie. You see the introduction, the plot, the character progression, and the end. Okay, makes sense. Perhaps they have a second movie, a third, like the Hunger Games or Harry Potter, but it's the same thing. Nice. Practical solutions, real tips. Here I put always examples because it's the start of the very start of the course, and I cannot mention the jargon yet. And if I do, which I did, it's okay. But this is what is that, right? So you know what works, what doesn't work, and what works for other people. That okay, I know that if you don't want to do A solution because you experience friction, I know people who use B and C, and even D, and the ins and outs, the pros and cons, and even some people in the long term. And sometimes I have seen their own collection. So it's not that, okay, I think it will be like this. No. I have seen their collection, and I have seen their stats. Years worth of data in the stats, and I can tell you, hey, for that person works. Not at the same intensity, so the time he spent could be a little more, and the retention rate will be slightly lower, but it's creates a lot less friction. It's a win-win. To mention one example, that is what I gathered through tutoring. I have tutored hundreds of people. With not everyone I have seen the stats, obviously, but I have seen many colors that I can get a pattern, albeit not in the thousands, but it's okay. More people are repeating this, so I'm more sure this is actually a fact. It's not just an outlier case. And there's a stable platform, because all videos are shot with the same hardware, everything the same. Same glasses, t-shirt, headphones, microphone, potato computer, background, because it's chroma key. Everything is the same. The only thing that changes is the length of my beard and my body weight that I have. Because of giving priority to the course, I have increased my weight quite a lot. So you will see some drastic change when I have reshot one video. So quote, it's worth the wait, absolutely, to have the course that addresses typical pitfalls with real fixes learned from experience. For my own usage, I'm harming my own channel because it's been more than a year that I wanted to move on and grow my channel. And growing my channel means getting rid of SuperMemo content. But here I am when I said that, and I did more than 1,000 videos about SuperMemo just after stating this last year. Because it's late for me for doing other things that I wanted to. It takes so much time. I invested more than a year and a half already, and what is left. So to mention that no, I really have been true to myself, and now it's the time. Now I'm ready to do a comprehensive guide. Something that it will be evergreen. Not something that, okay, it's good, but there's room for improvement. So conclusion, why now? Because the instructor, you either use the plural or the third person, so you don't sound arrogant. The instructor, me, needed the time to perfect teaching methods, gain deeper user feedback, refine video production, and so on. And especially because of the niche content, I have very little feedback because the audience is very small. So some videos only 20 people watched. Some views are random for searches that they just watch a few seconds. So at the end of the day, only 10 people watch the video and one person comments out of 10 or 2. So I have very little feedback other than Wozniak himself. So sometimes it's just my own experience alone, because could I say that I know no one else that knows that specifically? Could be the case that they know that. It's just, I don't know, there's no proof. No one else shared that online, so I don't know if someone else knows that, because it's not in that documentation. So what's the result? A polished, in-depth course that arrives when most interest in advanced learning tools is peaking. Because now AI, it's killing a lot of jobs that are more easy to be automated, and the jobs now require more knowledge and more continual learning. So more reason to do incremental reading. Nice. So final thought overall. After years of testing and tutoring behind the scenes, now I'm not now use a first person. I can finally deliver a well-rounded, high-value course that meets learners right when they need it. And that's why I'm sacrificing so much time, because I'm not getting my time back. So the time I have invested in the course, I will have invested in tutoring one-on-one. I would have earned more than 40,000 euros gross before fees and taxes. So that's a lot. And I didn't finish yet. So now you know why I started in 2020. In summer 2024, I started publishing videos on the course in May 2025, and I finished the Fluency cycle on December 2025. But not the course, it's still ongoing. So now it's time to quickly cover why the course is free. I kind of answered this implicitly before, but let me tackle this explicitly and quickly. Basically, I want open access to learning, so anyone with internet connection and a computer can get access to the course and experience full-fledged incremental reading. And then I will just accept donations, as in the sense that pay what you want, and then optional paid extras that are not available in the time of the recording, but they will be soon. So what's our philosophy? To share the knowledge about SuperMemo, spaced repetition, incremental reading, and so on, because the dogma is from the 3 centuries ago, the Prussian system. You have a teacher, it's passive, you have a curriculum, you cram, you repeat whatever in the exam, and you repeat, but you learn very little, and you harm your brain on top of that. Then it's open access. Anyone can access to the videos. It's free. It's in YouTube. Fostering a learning community and so on. So we believe that essential knowledge should be accessible to everyone, not paywalls required. The paywalls are just for convenience. It's something you can actually get yourself. But this convenience is optional. It's optional because I want to be accessible for everyone. I have experienced this, that hey, I'm accepting donations, but I got how many donations? So again, if you go to my channel, here you have the donate button, and you have this in any video description in YouTube. So I'm going to show you what is already public. So look, a donation 2 days ago. Awesome. And oh, here you don't see the date. Okay. But look, this is when I started the Fall React. This is from 1 year and a half already. This is due. This is somewhere in summer 2024. And look, this person actually bought a session with me, so it's not a real donation. 1, 2, 3, 4 public donations, and I think I'm missing one person, or perhaps he used a PayPal right away. 6. And everything else is from the past, before I did the course. So I was running my channel, but this someone that I help on Discord and stuff like that, which I appreciate. But from the course that has been a lot massive, almost no one is donating. So I know that this is not working. That's why even in the long term, I think I will get a week worth of salary, something anecdotal. And through my affiliate link, I get even more or less the same quantity of money per year. And with my affiliate link, I get like 2 or 3 days worth of salary per year. That's why I will do the paid extras, why they exist, to support the project. And then you can get one-on-one tutoring, which now is part of my real job. It's not something that I do on top, it's part of it. So the paid extras sustain the project's longevity, while I keep the core learning accessible to all. Keep in mind the time I'm investing doing the course. It's time I don't do tutoring. And at the same time, it's tutoring that I lose. Because people will get the answers from the course and will not need tutoring at all or just a few hours. And that's about it. So in this sense, I'm doing a disservice myself with this philosophy in the economic sense. If what I wanted is to get rich, the American dream, the videos will be super different. So final thought, we aim to expand learning opportunities for as many as possible. I know that that's not even true. Not is everyone. It's as much as possible. And I know it's as many as possible, not everyone. I had some people, I tutored a person from Kenya and Chad and some of those countries that are poor. And they were like in the medicine, radiologist or surgeon. So in a poor country, they were the elite. In society, in the sense that they were rich or quite a lot of money, let's say. And they could afford something, right? Even though I did some extra time or even sessions entirely for free, because hey, I know for you it's too much of an ask, but I know that you will using this for your professional endeavors. And if you are a doctor in Kenya and so on, hey, it's a good cause, right? But I cannot do sessions every day because I have to earn money. So I already work for free many hours a day. I have to earn money. So final thought, while letting those who need specialized help opt for the premium support, and this is how I get my income. But everyone gets the value. That's why the course is free. And it will always be free. I will only paywall convenience. So now it's time to cover the design of the course. So what you see here is how I do it. So what you will see as a user is different from what I do as a creator. As an incrementalist, I am creating this video non-linearly and incrementally. I have interruptions and I don't follow precisely the order. Even if I wanted, because I tried, then I discovered some holes. Hey, I could have done this before, pam. Oh man, I need a video ready. I have to reshoot it and so on. So what I do is, just to let you know, is that I do very tiny videos, atomic videos. Course format, this is the one I'm doing now. Do you see is the one that is not published? Need for a comprehensive guide, who is behind, why it's free, why first videos aren't enough, so this demands a course, why now, the contents and so on, right? And some of them are really short, like 1 minute and a half, 2 minutes. 1 minute are very, very atomic. So I do it like this. You will understand this once you get used to incrementalism. I'm using the same principle. No worries now about this. So later I can do like a puzzle and order the sequence of the videos, because the sequence is important. Because what I say and what I don't say, which is even harder to do, is being thought out, because I will introduce stuff incrementally. Hey, we haven't seen this dialogue or this window or this feature yet. So there's this progression. This has taken a lot of time to do properly. That's one. And then even later on that we have introduced all of the dialogues that there is for the fluency track, for the fluency cycle, then I put them together by sequence, and this will become one video. So it's most likely that what you will see is the video already. This starts with a playlist of very tiny videos, about 800 by the way, from the fluency cycle. So you can get some feedback, everything is right, the sequence is how it's meant to be and so on. Some kind of QA, because I do everything alone. And then when it's fine, I put this together, I edit this once again, and this becomes a full-fledged video. Why is not like this? Because I have spent already 1.5 years with Notion pinpointing this. And I cannot tell you how many hundreds, or should I say thousands of times, I had to move things around. Oh, there's one detail that is precisely between those two videos. The optimal sequence will be between those two. Boom. Because sometimes it's not just when I record that I realize something. Sometimes it's when I edit the video, which could be some weeks later, or even 2 months later, at worst case scenario. And A, is not optimal. There's now I realize, hey, I'm using, for instance, the easy case. I'm using a dialogue that I didn't introduce. Oh shoot, I need to introduce this dialogue now, before that video, and so on. And like this, iteratively, with many iterations and so on, even if it's after I have finished the entire course, then I can further improve the quality for the learner. Everything is for the learner, not for me. For me will be just plain and simple, sequence, pam, 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 video out. With this, it's a lot harder to track. That's why I need to use databases, because it escapes my mind, or even my SuperMemo collection. I need to track more than that. But it will end the best result possible. And when this is mature, it will be rendered on a video. Like, hey, that is what goes to the cinemas, let's say. So now you know how I do it. That's a Fluency, for instance. Here I have the mastery cycle. You realize that now here I have more than 2,000. So overall, there will be thousands of atomic videos. Even if at the end of the day, there will be 100. Overall, in all cycles merged together, will be about 100. But in the multiple hours long. So this is how the course is formatted. If I go to my channel, there will be very tiny videos like this. Use cases of the text template in SuperMemo. Custom style editor wizard versus external editing in SuperMemo. 6 minutes, 7 minutes. It's very targeted. Those are not seen, even though they are public for now. What I do is when I upload them, I uncheck the box. So this is not published to subscription feed or notify subscribers. So even if you check the bell to get notified, it will bypass that. But it will become public. So therefore, you can only see the videos by playlist when I share, because the template can be public. The template, but the playlist. So once I share the playlist, you will be able to see the videos in the sequence it's thought. And if you are a subscriber who usually watch most of my videos, you will get those recommended. I cannot avoid that. But it's temporary. Once this has been went through some users and have watched most of the content, I have done the QA, then this will become unlisted. And the greater audience will only see the end result. Usually, most people will only see the end result, which will be evergreen. And that will be the end result. I have just a few videos, a few sections. I don't have more sections today that I can verify 100%. That, oh my god, 3 hours and a half. But there are 3 hours and a half videos that everything is well thought together. The sequence has been optimized. If there were mistakes spotted by me or someone else have been corrected, it has been more than half a year of iterations here already. So this is what you will see, those long videos. So now you know how is the structure of the course and what to expect. That's enough for now. Now we will cover about the content of the videos, how the videos are seen, how the videos are done. So what you can expect is all of the videos, virtually all of them, a very few exceptions apply. I will be here on the corner of the screen to add the human touch. I also realized it's a lot easier to edit videos when it's me included. Without me, I need to rely on the sound waves and so on. It adds complexity. But it's not for me, believe me, I do it for the user. I'm making my work a lot harder because of using the chroma key, editing myself when I hide stuff behind me on the screen. So I'm adding complexity in the course. So I will always be in the corner. Awesome. Then most of the videos I will be sharing SuperMemo. So what I see myself in the screen, my first screen, I have two, is what I record and what you will see. Sometimes I will crop it, zoom in, zoom out, especially at the beginning, to introduce sections of the user interface and so on, but later on it will be just this. So I will just generally use the SuperMemo, and sometimes I'll be using SuperMemo as a slideshow. So I could be using PowerPoint, PDF, whatever app, whatever. I just prefer to use SuperMemo first, for my own convenience to build this incrementally, and second, to become endogamic. That, hey, I'm telling you how to use SuperMemo and the method of incremental reading through itself. Therefore, you will have this. Now this is a mess, no worries. In my real collection, it's better than non other caps, because again, I use my collection, yes, or different collections of mine, but they're never genuine collections, in the sense that they're backups, because usually I mess big time with my collections to show you some features, how they're done, but there's no undo. That's why I cannot use my genuine collection, or I will harm big time my own collection. So then, it will be like this. You will see that, hey, problem forgetting keywords, how does it work? It's actually in a slideshow. Or it's just me using SuperMemo, generally, through a backup, but it's what you see. There will be, in the Fluency, I think there are like 3 exceptions, and in the Mastery Cycle there are more. There are more videos anyways. But again, I keep it simple, and remember, I will always be wearing this t-shirt. This means it's part of the course. If you see the atomic videos here and there in my YouTube channel, or it's recommended, you will know, hey, this is from the course. The format is easy, and it's easy because it's just me alone. The production value is low because I will need not 2 years, but a decade to make this course alone. So in case you don't know me, who is behind this course, the Pleasurable Guide to SuperMemo? In case it's your first time, and who is this guy talking, right? I'm not Piotr Wozniak, in case you were wondering. So I'm Guillem Palau. In English, translated in English will be William Palace. Nice. So who I am? So I will be just briefly sharing who I am, why I ended up with SuperMemo, why I ended up creating this channel, and finally this course. So I'm the creator and instructor of the course. I do everything alone. I have prepared the course, which is what needs more time, by the way, if you want to do it didactically well. Shooting, recording the videos, editing the videos, publishing the thumbnails, everything. Why? Because I want to create because I'm passionate about space repetition since 2008 when I discovered it, but for real, 2009 when I used it for real and I discovered, oh wow, that's a big thing. It's been 16 years already. And then incremental reading in 2020 just because of COVID. So what I needed to imagine how random, how arbitrary life is. I needed something so big, out of the ordinary, like COVID lockdown, to lose my job. And conveniently in that time, to make it short, let's do SuperMemo versus Anki. And an experiment that later on I realized, hey, I'm sticking with SuperMemo. So then, what could I say if someone else would say about me? Guillem draws an extensive hands-on experience with SuperMemo to help other masters more smoothly. Why? Because I put thousands of hours, albeit only 5 years and a half, for incremental reading, 16 for space repetition, I have systematically tried everything, all of the flows possible, tried to break SuperMemo for every single angle, and so on, because I enjoy it. And that is my superpower. I enjoyed this from day one. And I kept going and I kept going. It was not my goal to begin with. And I will always like to help others. I have done this with Anki, even with my broken English back in the day. I already helped users get familiar with Anki. Okay. So I'm a long-term user, okay. I have a teaching mindset, that describes everything. And I have a community involvement. I have been in the community since day zero. Even before I started using SuperMemo, I was already. Just a few months after it was created in Discord. So I was late for SuperMemo, but at least when I started, I was already in the community, and I have been engaged always. I haven't detached the community since then. It's been more than 5 years. I think I'm the one with the most messages sent in Discord, on that community. And I help a ton of people and transcending the Discord in everything, Reddit, everything you can imagine. So teachers the practical roots, ensure the course is packed with real-life tips, not just theory. That's the key, because I'm not just doing a video version of the documentation. I'm going beyond that first, because their goals are not explained or are just mentioned that, hey, there's this thing, A, B, C, D, and D, and those are the labels. How this all works, why they are useful, I don't know. It's not mentioned anywhere. To mention a few things. But also it's because I have taught and led other people through tutoring or mentorship for years. And some people spanning more than a year. That I think the maximum has been 70-something sessions with the same person. That is a long span. And it has been in many different backgrounds of tutoring. Young people, old people, people with a lot of constraints that, hey, I have a family, I have a full-time job, I have my time limited. Or, hey, I have, for whatever circumstance, I have all of the time in the world. I gotta spend 8 hours a day if I want to with this. So I adjusted, I have seen different flows, I have seen different people, more or less with the same goal, achieving differently, or many things. I could speak for hours, right? That, hey, what worked for people, for person A and B, doesn't work for C. Because of the personality traits. That, hey, I have friction with this. The other person can tolerate the friction. The other person C cannot tolerate this friction, and so on. So even in those videos, there's some limitation because I just speaking to my projection of the audience, not one in particular. But I will be sharing a lot of insights that people paid for, actually. This course is valued in about 40,000 euros based on my time commitment. So far, it will increase as I continue doing the mastery. But you have to add the expertise, not just my time. And I put a lot. I could have just shut my mouth and do the typical thing in YouTube, that I mitigate the message. So I'm giving you enough for you that you want to pay for the entire thing. But I'm not giving you the entire thing, right? I'm not doing this business thing. I'm giving you the entire thing already. And I do it because I really enjoy it. At the time of the recording, remember, I'm reshooting this video after more than a year later, because it changed quite a lot the first section of the course. And today, it's December 2025, by the way. I have recorded more than 1,800 videos exclusively for SuperMemo, spanning hundreds of hours of footage, not me recording, which will be more than the raw versions are longer than they did it. But I have spent like more than a part-time job for 5 years. Then, approach to the course. As user-focused, I don't do the course for myself, but for other people. So sometimes I do some strategies that I will do for my tutorees. That I set traps and, hey, did you realize this? Did you realize that? So it's a very didactical way to quickly realize the most common errors, assumptions, especially in SuperMemo. Some of the things are counterintuitive. It's not that you're guilty of having this assumption. is that SuperMemo is not intuitive at all. So sometimes it's actually impossible to do it. Incremental learning philosophy. Everything is taught incrementally. I try my best to do it linearly. Before, it was the mastery path, the fluency path. You had to choose one of those. And one was the superset of the other, right? I realized it cannot be like this. It is a cycle. First you get the overview, then you go in depth with the diminishing returns in the mastery, and then are diminishing returns squared of what is else to know that is very obscure. So you will grasp the core skills before adding complexity. That, hey, I can only do the fluency of incremental reading. Yes, but you have this flow already. Then you will iterate and get deeper on concepts, deeper on templates, deeper on how to extract, how the incremental reading flow, which are more soft skills, and is the hardest thing to communicate, to transfer this knowledge. So Guillem's methods. Guillem's method. Break big topics into small, easy increments, mirroring how SuperMemo incrementalism works itself. Albeit, for me, a lot harder to manage, because it's a hell to manage thousands of videos. Tiny videos. Nice. What else? My perspective. Direct solutions. Sometimes it's because I share this that, hey, you have to tell me that in 3 minutes. But perhaps I spend 6 hours in real life. Because I encountered this myself as a user. I asked the community. After a few months, let's say that they couldn't help me anymore. Meaning, it was the opposite. I was helping people in the community. Even expert users could not tell me some arcane stuff. So I became on my own. I went on my own already. People cannot help me anymore. I covered the layers, superficial layers, and for instance, heat area. I did the heat area of an image. What? What is this, right? By the way, you will see this only on the... This is an example of a completionist material. But you know what I mean. When I was a beginner, and myself, and then later on, because I have tutored people who are beginners, day zero users, they even try. That they tried, they move on, they tried again, they moved on, and perhaps for a decade, or they have used SuperMemo with no interruption for more than a decade, so even longer than I did. But they only kept the basic, the fluent use, let's say. They didn't go beyond that, because SuperMemo has a lot to offer. So I have direct solutions that you won't get in the at all in the official documentation or in SuperMemopedia. And I have a very rich, because it's not that, hey, I help a few people. No, I help hundreds of people already. Many different people. From PhDs and Ivy League, Harvard, and all of that in the US or Oxford, Cambridge in the UK, to some random guy without a degree, but with extreme creativity and curiosity. And then refine techniques. Something that I cannot tell you is not easy that, hey, here's the solution, like any YouTuber could do, especially if you just prompt AI and book, that is the use case, here you go. No, is that in the long term, I did A/B testing, or it requires time. For instance, mercy, some of the things you will see in the mastery cycle, is, okay, I do it today, but I'm not going to see the effects until much later. And when I see much later, it's in the years interval. Or, hey, about the formulation of knowledge, how you formulate the flashcards. If you do this kind of, it works for now, but later on it's very hard, I will remember, or get what I mean, I will forget it. But hey, the interval, it's in 2 years, right? I need to spend 2 years to realize if I have forgotten that. Since I have 16 years, I had plenty of time to do all of this. So it's not just the intensity I have lived and experienced this, it's also the quantity. Because now it's been 16 years of spatial repetition, or 5.5 of incremental reading. It's been enough to see more of the stuff that you cannot get as a few months. And then practical innovator. Guillem suggestions often integrate creative techniques or overlooks our features, or sometimes repurposing features. That, hey, this is a feature literally from the 90s that is still present. It is now abandoned, has been abandoned, that not even the creator remembers that, or even the key bindings that were for it, or how it was implemented. It's obscure and has been ignored for so long that not even the creators remember that feature. There are which I call fossils in SuperMemo, that I feel like an archaeologist, because I reverse engineered or I just did a lot of stuff that, hey, you can get to some dialogues without a button in the interface. So you need an external tool like a hotkey to trigger that. I went to obscure things like that. But long story short, is hey, there's something that you're not going to use, like the text, like the translate registry. No worries about what it is, but can be repurposed as a hint feature for flashcards. And it quite worked well. And again, it's because I tried. I had this curiosity because someone else one of my tutorees wanted to have that, so I experienced myself on my own skin, or I already had preemptively this idea, and hey, let me try it myself. And that's why I waited so long to do the course, because I wanted to have all of this massive knowledge before I did it. Because I want to be able to bring a very good quality. Not the production quality, but the essence, what I say, the information I say and communicate, it's golden nugget of a golden nuggets. It's premium quality. Nice. So takeaway. He's been there, done that, so it's lesson address, real pain points with proven fixes. To summarize what I have said so far in this slide. Then, what you can expect from the course. Clear examples and screen recordings, yeah. I will tell you exactly when it's something that I tried, but not long enough. For instance, something we will see only on the completionist is plan. I use it only for a few days every time. Or a sleep chart. Yes, I use it for half a year. And oh my god, only half a year? Yes. Because sometimes, again, remember, it goes in the span of years. So I can tell you a lot, but I will not reach that point of mastery, even though I know how it works, the ins and outs, the bugs, how to overcome bugs of the implementation and so on. I like the genuine usage across years. So there are some holes because I cannot do everything at once, everywhere. I'm a human. So I will let you know when I have some limitations here and there. But when this happens, it's not in the fluency. In the mastery, there's a few. It's in the completionist. In the more diminishing returns you can think of already. And then you have comprehensive coverage, even if you don't realize that, hey, you have just shared this about this strategy or templates. Yeah. But we are going by waves, by cycles. Everything, to my knowledge, is recorded. It's there in my second brain. So if it's not in this course, it's just a matter of time it will be available on the, most likely, in the completionist cycle. So this approach ensures you see immediate practical payoffs, less guesswork, and more confidence. So my vision is that I want to help people, self-directed people, that, hey, even if I don't know how to do it, in this case, it's through SuperMemo. There's a tool, but the tool itself is not enough. You need to understand the method, and again, even if it's super useful, it's not enough. You also need to understand the mindset. You need to shift the mindset. It's like changing religions, that you have to stop believing some of the stuff that has been very hard-coded for years, even going against the dogma, common dogma of learning. It's a big thing. That's why I also include some of the purely theoric videos, because I'm targeting the mindset, not just the method or the tool. So what I want, introduce people the power of spaced repetition and incremental reading, and to enjoy the benefits. But I know that SuperMemo is a hard sell. I hope in the future I could do the same with a different software. What's the benefit? You have a guided supporting environment, truly leveraging SuperMemo potential, and you have the easiest way to become a master of incremental reading. I had to pay an enormous cost, not just in quantity of time, but also in going to a rabbit hole. And yeah, I had this golden nugget, but I paid 6 hours for this golden nugget. And what you pay is 6 minutes in time. What you pay is free, and then you can pay what you want. The course is free. But obviously, it's in the sense that once you get the value, so there's nothing up front, but while you do the course or after you finish the course, get what you donate what you consider is the value of the course. Then, quote, with the right instructor, complex software can become the seamless tool of unstoppable learning. This is some of the comments I have gotten through the years in my channel. It's not something I say to myself. That, hey, I have tried to use SuperMemo for many times, and I give up every time. But now that I have seen your YouTube channel, now finally I succeeded. And sometimes it's just by my attitude. So even if it's too much, I'm not going to do it. Just a few videos, it's just this motivation that, hey, okay, I only watch this video alone. I'm not going to watch the rest. But you motivated me to continue, to not give up. Even if I don't pursue mastery, because it's optional. So remember, I'm Guillem Palau. It just happened to be one crazy guy that happened to be like this. For instance, I despise coffee. I really hate the aroma of coffee, which goes against the norm. Most people enjoy it, right? Here I have the opposite. I do enjoy this, which most people don't. I enjoyed going to a rabbit hole for hours, being an archaeologist of what is possible to do with SuperMemo and cannot be done, or bugs. Because remember, I joined late. Incremental reading started in the year 2000, so I was 2 decades late already. And I went backwards and backwards and backwards. I used the first version of SuperMemo. I have used other versions of SuperMemo. So at least I can see some of the scope, big picture of the evolution. And oh man. Then I don't like the next sentence, but it's to make my point. Could be the case that there's no best candidate for this course. I know it sounds arrogant, because who on earth will spend so much time, not just on the requisites to do the course, but doing the course already, which takes thousands of hours, with no return of investment at all. I will try my best, but I'm pretty damn sure at the best case scenario, I will get 7 cents per hour invested. So I'm not doing this for the money. First, having done so much exposure as a user, repeatedly, assiduously, for so long, without a break, I could say, and I still continue to report bugs, create, for instance, 1 hour long video just to report a bug, and this bug is not even tackled, not going to fix it. It's reported, not going to fix it. So, and despite this, and despite running the channel for more than 5 years with a stagnant growth, that every year more or less I get the same views, there's no growth possible because more people will need to use SuperMemo. Despite this, I kept and I kept and I kept and I kept to the extremes. So who else is that passionate? And that's my secret. I'm not a superhuman. Oh, you are like Albert Einstein of SuperMemo. I just happen to be extremely passionate. Something you realize in this course is that pleasurability plays a role in learning, a big time. It just happened to be off the charts. It just happened that biologically and genetically, my genetics are very in tune of what is required for incremental reading. We'll see that, by the way, in the mastery track, in the mastery cycle. So I just happen to have a lot of patience, a lot of openness to experience, a lot of introspection. That's why why incremental reading can be described as a dialogue with yourself in the past and the future, right? So that's my secret. 2 dimensions. The genetics, that I have a genetic predisposition for incremental reading. Absolutely. I didn't choose that. So it's just life. Like I didn't choose to be left-handed, and all of that. And the sheer possibility. So I could get most of my genetics, let's say. And the other dimension, it's time. That I did this for a very long time already. So I have accumulated a lot of stuff. And that's why the course will be so long. It's not just a course that, hey, let me sell a course of 2 hours. I make business. No. I want to communicate the real stuff, all of the expertise. That's why I did the cycles. But even the first cycle is already more than 50 hours. So it's a big chunk. So that's me. If you ever remember me, you will forget my name. At least you will remember my face. That crazy guy who was super passionate about SuperMemo. If you do this, I will become immortal. Because even if I pass away, I will still live in your memory. And if this makes it to a Wikipedia, if very niche, if my name is in Wikipedia in incremental reading, I have achieved my Nobel Prize. And I will become immortal of what I want to be remembered for. The passion with incremental reading, memory, and learning. That's who I am and my values. And that's enough to speak about myself and continue with the course. So now let's cover the contents of the Fluency cycle of the course, the Pleasurable Guide to SuperMemo. I would like to show it like how I do it with Notion. So what you see here is not the final version, but it's really close, because some sections of the videos I'm reshooting them because it has changed. Okay, so basically what you see here is a section. Every page here in Notion is a section. That later on it will be a video. So what we have: the Fluency introduction, the course introduction, and the outro. So the first and the last, it's about the course. There's nothing about SuperMemo at all. Then we start super easy. Introduction about the SuperMemo, the product, the company, then the method of incremental reading. Then we will transition to the opening SuperMemo for the first time, input the key, license key. If you get it from my link, 10% off. Usually what it happens, that SuperMemo uses multiple windows, so we'll tackle the themes and layouts right after that. Then the basics of elements and cues, which are several. Then what we do with the elements. They have attributes, parameters, and you can have operations. You can do something with those elements. Then registries, an introduction to registries, which SuperMemo relies on. You will see why. Then components. So in an element can be divided into components. We'll cover that. And finally, more interesting stuff now, going into the direction of the soft skills, is the learning flow. Introduction to priorities, which is a big deal. Even though it's just an introduction, it's more than 3 hours and a half. Then introduction to templates and styling. It's there just because of the interaction with concepts, which is the next thing. And it's introduction because we'll see templates later on at the very end of the Fluency cycle. And that is just because I just wanted to keep the minimum, so we go to the incremental reading as soon as possible. And then we will tackle the specifics about about templates and so on. So concepts, and then foundations of incremental reading, which is 100% theoretical, are just slideshows, but it's very important to understand. And then we will start properly the incremental reading flow. Web imports to your collection, then reading, extracting what you read, optionally splitting, It's a different way to extract, more programmatically, automated. Then closing and applying done, which is the last step in SuperMemo. Then spaced repetition, another review, but no worries, this is not, even though there's some theory, it's something about how you grade the items, stuff like this. It's not, hey, those are the math behind the algorithm. We don't cover any of that. It's just what you need, the practical stuff you will need. And then other stuff that is useful, but later, but not as much. So first, we will tackle the incremental reading loop, and then we will have everything else. The references, good to know, good to use them. Searching your collection, building and navigating the knowledge tree, albeit optional. It has a tremendous power and perks. Processing text and images, the introduction, just the overview, what's more interesting. Then subset review and batch operations. Non-essential, it's pretty damn useful to know. And there's quite a lot of miscellaneous to be aware of. In the same manner of batch rescheduling operations. There are many, and you will use them at some degree, sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. Then collection management, how to clean the collection, backup, and so on. Remember that in SuperMemo, the undo feature is quite rare, so the management is more important than usual. And as we mentioned before, the second iteration of templates and styling, still basic, but the continuation because, hey, we have covered now the important stuff. Now let's make it pretty. And the outro. And that's it. Even though it seems like a lot, it's just the first cycle, it's a first iteration that, hey, that's an overview of what SuperMemo and incremental reading can do, so you can use it. And as a language, you'll be fluent, meaning you can communicate with the language, because you're fluent in English, let's say, like me, but hey, you're mispronouncing this, or you have an accent, or you did a grammar mistake here and there. Yeah, exactly. There's room of improvement. Following the analogy is the first cycle. That will have the mastery. This, more or less, is 51 hours of footage. That doesn't mean you will spend 51 hours. You should spend more. Because it's not just passive that I just watch the course and that's it. No, you watch it and you apply it. Hey, now I know how to apply, concepts. Oh, let me apply the concepts in my collection. Let me transfer it to my real life. If you just watch it, okay, you will know how to do it, but it will be in potence, not in act, if you know what I mean. And remember, don't take as a reference the precise duration and the order and so on, because some little details might change here and there until there's the definite video in YouTube. So now you know what to expect in the Fluency cycle. So now we're going to see slightly more in detail the versions of SuperMemo that cover in the course. You already know the answer from the 16 to the 20, but there's some nuance to explain here. They are not in the same degree, and it's not the same use case. So let's cover this. Most of the videos are recorded with SuperMemo 19. So the primary user interface is 19. Why? Because it was the latest at the time of the recording. So by default, you will watch every demonstration in SuperMemo 19. But even if you have 20, it will look very similar, albeit the same. Because if I load SuperMemo 18, you will see that it looks almost the same. There are a few extra options in some menus, and some change in the status in the statistics window, and not much else. So if I don't tell you which version I'm using, could be the case that you won't realize in some videos. Nice. Then that means that there are references to SuperMemo 18. Sometimes the reference is just enough. Sometimes I actually load SuperMemo 18 and we cover the flow with SuperMemo 18 when it's relevant. When there are minimal changes, I don't. Because let's say that the Go Neural is the second option and the other is the third. Or I think at the most, I think from the 17 to the 18, the key binding changed or something like that. That's very minor. So believe me, I could have a list and in a few minutes I will tell you all of the differences. It's very minimal. So take away. We won't ignore SuperMemo 18, but we keep reference concise. Most features are very similar. So if they're very similar, I'm not going to mention every single time the precise difference, only when it's meaningful. Common sense. Then, SuperMemo 16 and 17, they will have their own dedicated video or section of atomic videos in the mastery or completionist cycle. Why? Because they are freeware versions. Meaning, hey, if you really want to spend zero money, or you cannot spend money, or you don't want to get a pirated version, because it's quite easy to do, here is SuperMemo 16 or 17, and here is all you need to know that it doesn't apply. So when you see the course, this is not going to be present, this is not going to be present, this other is not going to be present, pam, 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 and this is different, more or less. The 16 is more limited. The 17, there's not that much of a difference. The big difference is that, for instance, Going Neural, for instance, is not available in SuperMemo 16. Not even the themes and stuff like that. So even it's older and it's free, it's considered because the course is comprehensive. Meaning, regardless of the version you use, you will follow in the course. But the difference with those older versions is that I'm not going to mention this during the videos. It's just a standalone section. Hey, you need to overrule and override that, what I said in the videos. Then, comparison of the versions. This is different now. This is more or less for you to decide which version of SuperMemo to do. So if you're watching now this section of the course, you can still decide which version you want to follow the course with. SuperMemo 16, at the time of the recording, it's free. It's the older user interface, missing some users advanced, misses some advanced features, but it's still super powerful. You can get most of incremental reading anyways, for free. If you watch this video late enough, in 2026, it will be SuperMemo 17, the freeware version. It adds neural view, not as how it is now, but pretty similar. You will have an improved algorithm, especially with detailed stability and retrievability. It works better with the long term or when you are super late doing repetitions. And categories in SuperMemo 16 become concepts. There is still fine details of concepts that are not present, but you will at least follow most of the videos about concepts in the course. SuperMemo 18 has a mild improvement in the algorithm, improves the neural view, includes themes, it's just cosmetic, full-fledged concepts, especially the roots, hooks, and so on, and especially it's FMA compatible, the unofficial add-on. Is this still true for SuperMemo 17? I think that last subversion, but it's more buggy and some of the latest versions of FMA were not fine-tuned for older versions. So and it's already buggy. I extremely suggest you, if you want to use FMA, use it with SuperMemo 18. Why? Because it's an abandoned project. So it hasn't been updated for SuperMemo 19. You cannot use it. That you want to use SuperMemo 19, what you have? Additive neural view, Chrome and Edge imports, that's a massive deal. There are some bug fixes of the main things that impede the experience of importing, watching videos and like this, but many bugs are still unfixed, more than 5,000 I think. So don't expect a big jump. And then SuperMemo 20 will add a new special repetition, a new version of the algorithm. Actually three. One from SuperMemo a second with SuperMemo with machine learning, and the implementation of the FSRS, and all of their metrics so you can compare which is best and so on, and minor quote-unquote forced bug fixes. More or less the same as 19, meaning there's a plethora of bugs that are known, are not going to be fixed, because no one else is working full-time in SuperMemo, in the code, I mean. Therefore, don't expect any overhaul at all. So the jumps from SuperMemo 18 onwards, the jump could be points, in the sense that this could have been 18.1 and 18.2. For instance, the collection is compatible. In other versions, you need to upgrade the collection. And once you upgrade, you cannot do it backwards. Here is the same, because it hasn't changed anything in the collection on those parameters. It's exactly the same. Then, why the multi-approach version? Inclusivity. So even I know that SuperMemo 19, it will be temporary, because every new version, then the third prior become free. I do the course now, so this is what it is. That means that in the future, the SuperMemo 16 from the mastery will be moved to the completionist, because will be part of the history of SuperMemo. And if this happens long enough, the 17 will happen the same. Because if you have the 18 for free, why you want to limit yourself with the 17, right? And the 18 will be kept because of SMA, the add-on. And you have the gradual migration. So if you master SuperMemo with SuperMemo 16 or 18, then you transition to 19, you only need to get used to what has changed, and it's very little. Oh, now I have the additive, if you remember. I'm not going to explain what it is, but you have the additive neural review. Oh, let me do this. Oh, for instance, for memory, you can have the stats of a subset in the element window. In older versions, you cannot. It's not a big deal. And with more complexity, you can get the same, because you can move that to a new collection and get the stats, collection-wise stats, that would be that subset anyways. So it's not that, oh, it's a new feature that requires updating and stuff like this. No worries about this. And as long as you use my links, you will have a 10% discount, and could be that in the future, that is still yet to decide, but it's being discussed with Piotr Wozniak, could be the case that you get the next version absolutely for free. When the jam is so little that then there's not much new available, you can get it for free as long as you used my link before. The perks. You save money once, and you save money even in the future. Incremental win. Or you could spend what you save to donate it to me, so I get some money, if you will. Final thought. Regardless of the version you use, the core specification principles remain the same. Yes, you will have more metrics or more stuff, but at the end of the day, as a user, you will do the same. The principles of how you formulate the items, the flow, and so on, is not going to change. Learn them well, apply them to which out of SuperMemo versions suits you the best. It's not the newest the better, because some people have the latest version, but they don't never use neural review at all, or concepts. They barely use concepts or the themes. They use the default theme anyways. So for them, the perks that they have for the new version are unused. So for them, it's like the same if they were using the older version anyways. At some degree, from SuperMemo 17, 16 there's a loss here. But keep in mind, this version is like 15 years old, or is quite significantly older. So this has been everything about versions covered in the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo. Okay, so let me quickly tackle this. This is a very repeated question. How long does it take someone to learn incremental reading, assuming using SuperMemo? That depends, like how long it takes to learn English. Depends on what you mean by learning, by knowing. Fluency level, mastery level. What do you mean by fluency? right? So it's not easy to tell. Awesome. So we say just Fluency, that you can use the software more or less here and there for your daily usage, most of the basics, but you will lack domain knowledge for the specifics, like the language. In my case, was about 40 hours. Just to get the basics. Just to let you know that the Fluency cycle, the first one, it's a lot more than what I mean by this. It's not just the basics. It's basics and a lot more. And it's just 50 hours. So, what I needed to do in years, you will achieve it in hours. If you do it, let's say 1 hour a day, in 2 months, you will have a better perspective and domain than myself in a few years. That I invested a lot of hours in the rabbit hole. What is this? Because it was not in the documentation, so I tried myself 1 hours. So it will take a hard way, incredibly fast. The only thing that can go faster is doing the course with tutoring. That some people already do. That they even go faster. And what they acquire in 3 months is what I did in 2 years. And 2 years, spending a lot of time. How long does it take? Depends. In natural time, depends of the intensity. If you do it 1 hour per day, it's not the same as 10 minutes per day. Then, as time invested overall, so how many days you need to spend 50 hours, that will be it. Then, how much it takes to master incremental reading. Most of the ins and outs, if I have this need now, how it translates what I need to do in incremental reading, or if I'm a victim of this bias, how I mitigate it, all of this, that is in the mastery, that will be, I don't know, about 200 hours, more or less. What is this? Depends. If you put 1 hour a day, it will be 200 days. Keep in mind, I have invested 16 years with spaced repetition alone, and more than 5 just with SuperMemo and incremental reading. I read about incremental reading years ahead of trying it out, by the way. So now you know. It's quite a lot, yes, but this quite a lot has been minimized. It's the goal of this guide. It's the highway. You're going as fast as the car can go. So the only thing that you can do faster is by getting tutoring that will be changing the vehicle to a plane. And with a plane you go faster. More or less, this is what I want to convey. There's no magic number. Just the duration of the course, that will be more than enough. The watch time of the course, and especially when you watch the course, also replicate it on your collection. Experience it on your own skin. Not just passively watch the content and that's it. So finally, we have covered everything. We have introduced the Pleasurable Guide to SuperMemo as a whole, and now we're going to continue with more specifically, the first cycle, the Fluency cycle. So from now on, we only tackle the first cycle, not the entire course. So now let's cover the contents of the Fluency cycle of the course, the Pleasurable Guide to SuperMemo. I would like to show it like how I do it with Notion. So what you see here is not the final version, but it's really close, because some sections of the videos I'm reshooting them because it has changed. Okay, so basically what you see here is a section. Every page here in Notion is a section. That later on it will be a video. So what we have: the Fluency introduction, the course introduction, and the outro. So the first and the last, it's about the course. There's nothing about SuperMemo at all. Then we start super easy. Introduction about the SuperMemo, the product, the company, then the method of incremental reading. Then we will transition to the opening SuperMemo for the first time, input the key, license key. If you get it from my link, 10% off. Usually what it happens, that SuperMemo uses multiple windows, so we'll tackle the themes and layouts right after that. Then the basics of elements and cues, which are several. Then what we do with the elements. They have attributes, parameters, and you can have operations. You can do something with those elements. Then registries, an introduction to registries, which SuperMemo relies on. You will see why. Then components. So in an element can be divided into components. We'll cover that. And finally, more interesting stuff now, going into the direction of the soft skills, is the learning flow. Introduction to priorities, which is a big deal. Even though it's just an introduction, it's more than 3.5 hours. Then introduction to templates and styling. It's there just because of the interaction with concepts, which is the next thing. And it's introduction because we'll see templates later on at the very end of the Fluency cycle. And that is just because I just wanted to keep the minimum, so we go to the incremental reading as soon as possible. And then we will tackle the specifics about about templates and so on. So concepts, and then foundations of incremental reading, which is 100% theoretical, are just slideshows, but it's very important to understand. And then we will start properly the incremental reading flow. Web imports to your collection, then reading, extracting what you read, optionally splitting. It's a different way to extract, more programmatically, automated. Then closing and applying done, which is the last step in SuperMemo. Then space repetition, another review, but no worries, this is not, even though there's some theory, it's something about how you grade the items, stuff like this. It's not, hey, those are the math behind the algorithm. We don't cover any of that. It's just what you need, the practical stuff you will need. And then other stuff that is useful, but later, but not as much. So first, we will tackle the incremental reading loop, and then we will have everything else. The references, good to know, good to use them. Searching your collection, building and navigating the knowledge tree, albeit optional. It has a tremendous power and perks. Processing text and images, the introduction, just the overview, what's more interesting. Then subset review and batch operations. Non-essential, it's pretty damn useful to know. And there's quite a lot of miscellaneous to be aware of. In the same manner of batch rescheduling operations. There are many, and you will use them at some degree, sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. Then collection management, how to clean the collection, backup, and so on. Remember that in SuperMemo, the undo feature is quite rare, so the management is more important than usual. And as we mentioned before, the second iteration of templates and styling, still basic, but the continuation because, hey, we have covered now the important stuff. Now let's make it pretty. And the outro. And that's it. Even though it seems like a lot, it's just the first cycle, it's a first iteration that, hey, that's an overview of what SuperMemo and incremental reading can do, so you can use it. And as a language, you'll be fluent, meaning you can communicate with the language because you're fluent in English, let's say, like me. But hey, you're mispronouncing this, or you have an accent, or you did a grammar mistake here and there. Yeah, exactly. That's room of improvement. Following the analogy is the first cycle. Then we'll have the mastery. This more or less is 51 hours of footage. That doesn't mean you will spend 51 hours. You should spend more. Because it's not just passive that I just watch the course and that's it. No, you watch it and you apply it. Hey, now I know how to apply, concepts. Oh, let me apply the concepts in my collection. Let me transfer it to my real life. If you just watch it, okay, you will know how to do it, but it will be in potence, not in act, if you know what I mean. And remember, don't take as a reference the precise duration and the order and so on, because some little details might change here and there until there's no the definite video in YouTube. So now we know. So now you know what to expect in the fluency cycle. So now the question is, not that we know the contents of the fluency cycle, what would be the learning results? So once you finish the course, what you will be able to do in SuperMemo and in your life. So you will be able to use it every day, minimize at great degree the friction, not all of it, because there are still a lot of things that you don't know, but it's a pretty good case. It's like the Pareto principle. You get 80% already. Then you have 20% left of diminishing returns in the mastery. So what you will need to do is adjust, for instance, the layouts to any computer you might use. If you have two screens, one screen but it's a different resolution than the other, if you use multiple computers, and so on. You will be able to understand what you're doing, like the learning stages and the basics of how SuperMemo is designed. Hey, I want to do my outstanding repetitions, or I want to do a subset because I have one exam, or because now I won. I pick my interest and I want to tackle all of this from the same book or source or the same concepts, or all of those things you will be able to do, to transfer what you want to do in real life and how this translates in SuperMemo. Oh, if now I want to do this by passing what is scheduled, oh, that means a subset of this, so that means I need to open this on the branch on the browser window, process a browser, click here, there, and so on. You will be able to translate this at some degree. Most of the basic stuff you will be able to do. The rest will be on the mastery. But you will understand, you will be able to work with images and the right way, import the right way, get used to priorities incrementally, which will take you enough time. Meaning, after you have done the fluent cycle, you still need some time to get used to it. Because even if you know, cognitively you know the answer, that doesn't mean you learn it. It's like you can learn the anatomy and the physics of a bike. That doesn't mean you will know how to ride a bike right away. You need some practice. Like learning a new language, right? Awesome. So then you'll be able to automate some of the flow, that using concepts, these auto-applies templates. You will then discover a flow that you get used to it. That, okay, there are many ways to achieve the same result. That's my way to do it, or my preference, something like that. And you have more than enough with all of the flow to enjoy SuperMemo and incremental reading and discover most of the potential. How, after a few months, you will see how powerful it is and how rewarding it is, as long as you read and learn what you want. And then some other stuff, you know the existence of that, but we haven't worked on them because this is covered on the mastery. But at least you are aware that, hey, I'm making this, I'm spending effort of creating concepts and so on, but I know that in the future, this will allow me to do other stuff that I cannot do today, like neural review or other stuff. And other miscellaneous, that, hey, I had vacation, how I recover from a vacation with rescheduling stuff, and so on. This is the overview of what you will be able to do. It's very hard to describe exactly because there's no standard blueprint that, hey, you will be there, boom. Because incremental reading has a lot of skills that are very soft. So even if different people watch the same videos, the same course, they won't develop the same skills. They don't come also with the same skill set to begin with. They don't have the same preference. So sometimes some people spend a lot of time with templates that, okay, good for you, you learn it, but it's not the top priority. And then they don't know how to do a subset, which have a greater impact in the learning process, if you know what I mean. So your mileage may vary, but most of the time is more than enough to be on your own. But like the language, hey, I want to do a conference about physics or medicine. In then oopsie doopsie, your fluency will have limitations. You don't know the jargon or the formality of the language at that degree and so on. That will be the mastery. Nice. And remember, anytime you can continue to the mastery track, to the mastery cycle, once you finish. You can do it right away, take a break after a year, or after you consider, hey, now I'm seeing some limitations myself. Now it's time to do the mastery cycle. So don't rush it. So now that we have seen the contents, what the SuperMemo Pleasurable Guide to SuperMemo, the fluency cycle, will have, then let's do what it won't cover, or more or less the simplifications that have been made, compromised for simplicity until the next cycle. Then, the scope of philosophy is to provide a pleasurable, friction-free path to fluency. Of course, it's not going to be friction-free, but it means to reduce the friction as much as possible, because it's SuperMemo. It is like the boss of friction. It will be really hard to find a software that creates more friction than SuperMemo. Then, Pareto principle. You get 80% of the value with only 20% of the complexity or the features. It's a rule of thumb. It doesn't have to be this percentage. Means you get most of the value only with a fraction of the content. So only if we see a fifth of what SuperMemo has to offer, you have gotten most of the value already. And then it's diminishing returns from here. But we stop before the learning curve becomes too steep for little gain. Basically, diminishing returns. This would be on the mastery and in the completionist. So we have the analogy. We're learning here how to drive the car to get to work, not how to build the transmission in a mechanic shop. I don't need this level, this degree of knowledge. I'm only a driver. I will pay a mechanic to do this for me, right? Unless I want full knowledge or become a mechanic myself. Then I will do the next cycle. Awesome. So what's the core objective? The primary focus is mastering or getting there, the first step to mastery, of incremental reading method, using SuperMemo as a tool. What we're not going to do is other stuff that we will see next. So I will take the assumption that your main goal is to process and retain knowledge from text. Yes, there's video, audio, but that's the beginning, incremental reading. Then, simplification of the workflow. We assume one collection only. In SuperMemo, you can use multiple collections. For instance, now, I'm using a new collection, slides. I actually recovered, I already had one collection like this. So it's easier for me to do those slideshows, and I don't have to do all of my entire collection every time. Why? Because this adds complexity. Any feature, concepts, or templates adds complexity if every time we have to do, hey, what happens if I transfer this to another collection, or I merge collections? Do I keep the templates? Do I keep the concepts? So we take it simple, just one collection only, and the multiple collections flow will be only covered from the mastery onwards. Also no multitasking. Avoid complexity, managing multiple databases, and so on, because I'm going to use jargon that we didn't introduce. One of the things that we will see are the registries, and this is per collection, and some settings are global, some settings are per collection. We are adding complexity. So imagine if I'm switching collections during the course, it will be more complex. So how Leonardo da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And then we're saving away specific flavors of incremental reading, of incremental learning. So what is excluded? Everything that is not incremental reading. incremental writing, incremental video, incremental email, incremental brainstorming, incremental problem solving, incremental whatever you want to do. We focus on reading only. And finally, some advanced features are mentioned, like for instance, mercy. Some are don't, pretending that doesn't exist. You will notice that once you finish the cycle, the Fluency cycle, there will be a ton of things in the menus and buttons that we never tackled just yet. Then, some legacy tools that are there, but are just not useful anymore. They will be tackled on the completionist. Or in the mastery, if they can be repurposed with something more useful. And some borderline features, there are some exceptions that are nice to know, are mentioned, and could be covered, but not in depth. So for example, there's a hook, you can do this, you can do that. But it's not explained in depth until the next cycle, the mastery. So now you know what to expect in this Fluency cycle. See you incrementally.